9th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with another golden day for South Korea in taekwondo. South Korea's Kim Yu-jin captured a gold medal in women's taekwondo for the country's second title in 2 days in the sport. Ranked 24th in the world, Kim Yu-jin not only placed herself on top of the podium, but also secured her country's first 57-kilogram gold in 16 years. One North Korean defected to South Korea on Thursday by crossing the neutral zone of the Hangang River estuary located west of the inter-Korean land border. Authorities are now looking into details of the defection, including the motive and the exact defection route. Israeli forces continue to push ahead with attacks in Gaza, this time with airstrikes that left at least 40 Palestinians dead. Israel's security cabinet held an underground meeting, which they claim was a part of its emergency training.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong. The Paris Summer Olympic Games are coming to an end, with just 2 days left until the closing ceremony on Sunday. Now here are some of Thursday's highlights from the Games. Starting with taekwondo, where South Korea's Kim Yu-jin captured gold in the women's 57-kilogram event on Thursday, claiming the first crown for Team Korea in the category in 16 years. Kim beat Nahid Kiani of Iran by 2-0 in the finals at the Grand Palais, with game scores of 5-1 and 9-0. 23-year-old Kim, who is only ranked 24th in the world, knocked off 4 of the world's top 5 athletes in her weight division before reaching the final, including world number 1 Luo Zongxi of China in the semi-finals and number 2 Kiani in the gold medal match. That gold has pushed South Korea to tie its previous Summer Games record with 13 gold medals. The country is in 6th place on the Paris medal table. In sport climbing, South Korea's Seo Chae-hyun advanced to the women's combined event final on Thursday as the 20-year-old vies for Team Korea's first ever medal in the category. Seo qualified for the event final after finishing 8th overall among 20 climbers on Thursday at the Le Bourget sport climbing venue in the north of Paris. She tied for 4th in the lead semi-final with 72.1 points after struggling in bouldering with 44.2 points earlier this week, snatching a ticket to Saturday's final with 116.3 points in total. 3 climbers topped her in the lead category as Janja Gambret of Slovenia and Ai Mori of Japan scored 96.1 points, and Jessica Pils of Austria followed with 88.1 points. The South Korean is currently ranked world number 3 in lead and 18 in bouldering. 8 finalists will compete for the podium on Saturday in both bouldering and lead events on the same day. Team South Korea lost to China in the semi-finals of the women's table tennis team event on Thursday, which still leaves the chance of winning a bronze medal on the table. Now, South Korea's Shin Yu-bin, Lee Eun-hye and Jeon Ji-hee went down 3-0 against Han Ying-sha, Chen Meng and Wang Man-yu of China after 1 doubles and 2 singles matches at South Paris Arena 4 on Thursday. While some anticipated a surprise outcome, China's Sun, Chen Wang, who are ranked 1, 2 and 3 in women's singles and world rankings, took down Team Korea without much of a fight. Shin, who won the mixed doubles bronze medal earlier in the Games, said, "We want to finish our last match with a medal," adding that it wasn't nerves that got her, but that she and Jeon were simply outplayed by the Chinese team. Team Korea will now compete for a bronze medal in the deciding contest on Saturday against Germany, who lost to Japan 3-1 in Thursday's other semi-final match. Athletics are in full swing as we come towards the end of the Summer Olympic Games. In the women's 400-meter hurdles, Sydney McLaughlin-Levron of the US won the gold medal in a new world record time of 50.37 seconds on Thursday. Now, that marked the 5th time the American athlete had beaten her own world record, all while becoming the first female to win back-to-back gold at the Olympics in the event since the sport's debut in 1984 at the Los Angeles Games. In men's 200-meter race, Letsile Tebogo of Botswana stormed to the top of the podium with an African record of 19.46 seconds at the Stade de France on Thursday, denying 100-meter gold medalist Noah Lyles a sprint double. Tebogo's medal is Botswana's first ever Olympic gold, which he dedicated to his late mother as he put his spikes to the camera to show her date of birth and had the initials of her name painted on his fingernails. Tebogo said, "I believe she could be one of the happiest people on the planet." Immediately after the race, Lyles, who won bronze in the event, tested positive for COVID and was helped off the track in a wheelchair.
Team Korea continued to prove themselves at the Paris Summer Games, bringing a pleasant surprise in terms of medals being brought home. And not only was it their talent that stole the world's attention, but also their charisma and charm. For more, let's turn to Professor Kim Tae-ri this morning. Welcome to our program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So Team Korea headed to Paris with a goal of securing 5 gold medals. They've captured 13 golds so far, far more than expected, which turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Was the 5 gold medal goal just a case of being humble?
All right, so Team Korea is far exceeding expectations. Initially, the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee suggested 5 gold medals. This number only included the most certain ones, 3 in archery and 2 in fencing. But we swept all 5 golds in archery, and unexpected goals also poured in from shooting and taekwondo. Back in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, 238 Korean athletes competed in 29 events. In Tokyo, on the same continent with no time difference, Team Korea won 6 golds, finishing 16th overall. In Paris this time, 144 athletes are competing in 22 events, which is the smallest delegation in 48 years. So considering the exceptionally small number of athletes, the time difference in Paris, and the results of the previous Tokyo Games, setting a goal of 5 golds was not unreasonable. But thankfully, our athletes are achieving great results, not only in traditional strong events, but also in a variety of other sports as well.
Absolutely. And this year, Korean athletes, like I said, captured the world's attention not only by impressing the world, with their talents, but also by showing off their fun and unique characters, namely pistol shooter Kim Hae-ji and Shin Yu-bi in table tennis. What do you think made them stand out so much?
Well, I think the improved training environment in Korea has helped not only develop their skills, but also highlight their unique characters. Moving from the old strict system to a more open and scientific training environment has made training and competitions more enjoyable for athletes. For a long time, Korean athletes have aimed for Olympic gold medals, and those who won silver or bronze often felt like they just disappointed the nation. The greater the desire for victory, the more nervous athletes might feel on the big stage like Olympics. But it seems that the athletes have now learned how to channel their desire for victory into positive energy by focusing on the game and enjoying the process. Systematic mental training may have contributed to this. Now, people love to see the new generation of athletes enjoying the process, competition, and their achievement. And our athletes are showing that sports can be enjoyed without obsessing over medals, which is a very positive change, a true sportsmanship, and the Olympic value as well.
Right, I think that's what made it even more fun for us, sports fans, to watch their games. And we have to talk about South Korea taking back the #1 spot in taekwondo, finally adding gold medals in the traditional martial arts at the Paris Olympics. How meaningful is this?
Well, as the birthplace of Taekwondo, it holds a lot of significance. Since it became an Olympic sport in 2000, Korea has won 12 gold medals in 6 Olympics, but we didn't win any golds in Tokyo. Now, Park Tae-jun has become the first South Korean to win a gold in men's under 58 kilogram weight class, and it's Korea's first gold in 16 years in men's event. Kim Yu-jin's gold in the women's 57 kilogram weight class early this morning is the first gold in this event in 16 years as well. We should also note that Taekwondo is now a universally loved sport. And in Olympic Taekwondo, about 60 countries compete and around 25 countries win medals. Taekwondo has continuously made efforts to enhance the excitement of the game by amending the game rules several times and to improve the fairness of judging. So the globalization of Taekwondo has definitely raised the level of competition. So now even Korea can't guarantee medals anymore. It's great to win medals, of course, but I think it's time that we should acknowledge and be more proud of Taekwondo's worldwide popularity.
Definitely. Professor Kim, in which sport do you think Korean athletes show the most potential in your opinion? I mean, any sport that you think South Korean athletes are looking to thrive in the near future?
In the Paris Olympics, South Korean athletes did best ever in archery, fencing, and shooting. So I believe these bow, gun, and sword sports will continue to perform well as long as the Olympics continue. Also, new sports introduced by the IOC to attract younger audiences, such as skateboarding and breaking, could become major successes only if they get national support and good training. I think our Korean athletes can really do well in these areas with right support and preparation. And to boost public interest in Olympics and foster national unity, it's clear that we need more progress, especially in team sports like soccer. It's disappointing that among team ball sports, only women's handball participated in the Paris Olympics.
Right. Well, before I let you go, Professor Kim, how well do you think Team Korea will finish off the Summer Games? I mean, will Team Korea be able to return home with a record number of medals? I mean, we've secured 13 golds so far. How many more do you think?
Of course, it's definitely reasonable to have high expectations. Team Korea still has several gold medal contenders left, such as weightlifter Park Hae-jung, high jumper Woo Sang-yeop. We also have world top-ranked modern pentathletes Jeon Young-tae and Song Seung-min, and there are still more taekwondo matches to come. So I cautiously predict that we might win 1 or 2 more golds from these events. In the last Tokyo Olympics, Korea ranked 16th overall with 6 gold medals. In this Paris Olympics, I think Team Korea will be able to take home around 14 gold medals and finish the games around 6th or 7th in overall ranking. But still, it's important for the public and media to pay attention not only to those who win medals, but also to the athletes in events that may not achieve podium finishes. So let's all just enjoy the games and cheer for the athletes together.
Definitely. Fingers crossed. All right, Professor Kim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
One North Korea made a defection to South Korea on Thursday by crossing the maritime border between the two Koreas. The person reportedly crossed the neutral zone of the Hangang River estuary, located west of the inter-Korean border, and arrived at South Korea's Gyeodong Island in Incheon, expressing their intention to defect. South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff announced that it has secured custody of an unidentified individual presumed to be from North Korea and handed the person over to relevant authorities without providing further details. A military official reportedly said the water level in Hangang River estuary was low at the time, so the defector crossed on foot. Now, this is the first time in about a year and 3 months since a North Korean defected to the south by crossing the western sea border. Israel's security cabinet held a meeting underground as part of its emergency training. And the Israeli military continued its airstrikes throughout Gaza, this time killing at least 40 Palestinians. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Amid fears of a massive Iranian retaliatory attack against Israel for the killing of a Hamas leader and a top Hezbollah commander, the Israeli security cabinet held a meeting at an underground bunker known as the Pit, on Thursday night. Despite rumors that the meeting took place at the underground command room over fears of an Iranian strike, Israel says the event was a drill for a potential emergency situation. Located under the Security Ministry's headquarters, the last time such a meeting took place at the Pit was in April, when Iran responded to an Israeli attack on its embassy in Syria by firing hundreds of drones and missiles toward Israeli targets. Meanwhile, amid an escalation in tensions in the Middle East, Israel is continuing to conduct airstrikes throughout Gaza, killing at least 40 Palestinians. This includes airstrikes at a cluster of houses at Al-Barej camp, where at least 15 were killed, and a nearby camp where 4 others were killed. The 2 camps are considered some of the more densely populated areas in the region, but are also seen by Israel as strongholds for Hamas. The Israeli military also struck 2 schools east of Gaza, killing 15 Palestinians. Israel says it conducted airstrikes at Hamas military targets. Since last October, close to 40,000 Palestinians have been killed and more than 90,000 others injured. 이승재, Arirang News.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will hold their first face-off at a presidential debate hosted by ABC early next month. Our Choi Min-jung has the details.
U.S. presidential nominees Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have agreed to debate on ABC News on September 10th. The network announced in a statement on Thursday that the vice president and the former president both confirmed their attendance. Speaking at a news conference, Trump said he's looking forward to the face-off and that he wants to add 2 more debates.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC.
Fox News proposed a debate between Harris and Trump early next month, and NBC News is also planning to air one later in September. Harris posted on social media that she was looking forward to the September 10th debate after Trump finally committed, and she told reporters that she was open to discussing more debates. Amid a tight race between the 2 candidates, Trump suggested he should be able to influence decisions made by the Federal Reserve if he becomes president again. With growing concern over a U.S. recession, Trump said that people on Wall Street believe if he doesn't win, the U.S. is going to have a depression. He also highlighted his first term when he claimed the country had, quote, perfect inflation. Meanwhile, the war in the Middle East is another factor dividing the Republicans and the Democrats. During a campaign rally in Detroit on Wednesday night, Harris fired back at pro-Palestinian protesters of Israel's war in Gaza as they interrupted her speech, shouting that they won't vote for genocide.
You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
With an Ipsos poll released Thursday showing Harris and Trump neck and neck in swing states, it remains to be seen whether the first debate between Harris and Trump will lead to a massive change in the race. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korea's economy is expected to expand 2.5% in 2024. This is what a South Korea's economy think tank believes, and it's lower than what projected back in May. Now, poor domestic demand due to a prolonged trend of high interest rates was the main trigger to lower the outlook. Kim Bo-kyung reports.
Weak domestic demand constraining on export-led recovery. That is how a major state-run think tank, the Korea Development Institute, evaluated South Korea's economy, while revising down the country's economic growth outlook. The KDI cut this year's economic growth forecast to 2.5% on Thursday, marking a 0.1 percentage point fall from its earlier projection presented in May. The outlook is on par with those by the International Monetary Fund and Bank of Korea, and is lower than those made by South Korean government and the OECD, which forecast a 2.6% growth. Primarily fueled by semiconductors, exports are forecast to grow at a faster clip, with the institute jacking up the export growth forecast this year from 5.6% to 7%. It shared a rather grim outlook, however, for consumer spending and equipment investment, revising the consumption down to 1.5% from its earlier forecast of 1.8%, and cutting its projection for facility investment to 0.4% from the previous 2.2%.
The growth of domestic demand centered on private consumption and facility investment is expected to fall short of earlier projections. Considering the prolonged trend of high interest rates compared to consumer prices and economic conditions, the recovery of domestic demand is likely to be delayed.
Due to weak domestic demand and falling global oil prices due to potential slowdown in the U.S. and China, consumer prices are forecast to climb 2.4% this year, which is 0.2 percentage points lower than in the forecast in May. The think tank also cited external factors, such as geopolitical risks in the Middle East or a sharp economic downturn in China or the U.S., as potential risks that could slow South Korea's economic growth. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's population in about 50 years is projected to shrink to around 36 million. That's a 30% decline from the current 51 million. That's pushing many non-capital regions to pour efforts to keep their cities and towns alive. And Goseong-gun County is dealing with the issue through sports marketing. Our Park Gun reports.
Goseong-gun is a county in Gyeongsang-namdo province located in the southern part of the Korean peninsula with less than 50,000 residents. Due to its continuously shrinking population, the region has been coming up with new ways to address the crisis. One of the representative ways is rebranding the county as an optimal spot for sports events and off-season training, with its great facilities and infrastructure, bringing in many athletes from different regions.
Training facilities here are good, especially because this year's National Sports Festival will be held in Goseong, and it's a great opportunity to watch and learn each player's strengths while training.
In the first half of 2024, Goseong-gun County held 41 sports events, including international and national sports competitions, including for triathlon, handball, and soccer. Attracting over 80,000 people during that period, the county created an economic effect worth around $4 million, twice as much as in the previous year. Goseong-gun County calculated the economic effect by multiplying the visitors, athletes, coaches, and families with the predicted average cost of around $54 per day for accommodation and food.
Accommodation costs accounts for the biggest pie among the total spending. Then it will be food costs, as it's important to eat well during off-season training. Food costs are huge as we try to consume meat each meal.
With more people coming into the region, an official of Goseong-gun County spoke about plans to accept the increasing number of visitors.
We will continue to expand the infrastructure for sports facilities. For example, we already built the first baseball stadium in the previous year and the second one in May to welcome more baseball players.
He also spoke about plans for increasing lodging facilities, including youth hostels, so that the county can hold more sports events. Along with these efforts, Goseong-gun County aims to create an economic effect of over $6 million in the latter half of the year. In order to do so, this coastal county aims to bring more people into the region by hosting scores of sports events and off-season training for teams and athletes, as it did in the first half of the year. Park Gun, Arirang News, Goseong.
Good morning. Simmering summer heat continues to bake much of Korea today. Seoul has had 19 consecutive tropical nights as of today, 25 nights for Jeju. And we are expecting at least 10 more tropical nights this season. Meanwhile, there are more sudden downpours for certain parts of Korea and parts of Jeju today. 5 to 40 millimeters of passing rain is expected for south, while Jeju Island will see on and off showers during the day today. Now, afternoon temperatures in Seoul and Gwangju will be at 34 degrees, Daegu topping out at 35 degrees Celsius. Skies will remain sunny for central areas with very strong UV rays expected. Then, a passing rain is in the forecast in the west this weekend with intense heat expected again next week. Now, many of us in Korea are waiting for Choseol, the second autumn season monsoon term, and that's when we can expect a big cool down from the searing heat, and that falls on the 22nd of this month. So take care until then. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We will be back next Monday.
We change today, inspiring daily life. We create tomorrow, inspired by innovation. Change today, create tomorrow. Lotte.
요즘 한국에선 어떻게 노는지 알려줄까?
한국에선 아이돌이 되어볼 수도, 인생 번호를 찾을 수도 있지.
제일 핫한 포토 스팟은 여기.
한국은 분명 너에게 새로운 영감을 줄 거야.
이런 한국, 와보지 않고는 모를걸? 진짜 한국에선 어떻게 먹는지 알려줄까?
K-바비큐? 신김치랑 먹어야지.
치킨? 치맥 페스티벌은 처음이지?
김치? 종류만큼 먹는 법도 가지각색. 김밥? 시장에선, 산에선, 바다에선 이렇게.
국밥? 취향 따라, 입맛 따라. 이런 한국, 와보지 않고는 모를걸?
이 캐릭터들이 사실은 뿔뿔이 보자면 너무 평범한데 같이 모여있을 때 뭔가 즐겁고 뭔가 하루라도 좀 더 의미 있게 버틸 수 있는 어떤 이런 한 팀으로 거듭나는 게 아닌가.
to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Friday, August 9th here in Seoul. I'm Yu-jin, and this is News Generation. Today, we're joined by Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And Brooke Prince.
Hello, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, as usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online. The Old Korean Legation in Washington, D.C. has been nominated for listing on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. According to a notice posted by the National Park Service in the Daily Journal of the U.S. government website on Wednesday, local time, comments are being accepted electronically regarding the significance of the nominated properties until August 22nd. The National Register of Historic Places is a designation similar to Korea's National Heritage Sites. Through this designation, the U.S. government legally protects buildings, structures, and places of exceptional historical significance to ensure their preservation. On the cultural front, renowned Korean director Yeon Sang-ho is collaborating with streaming giant Netflix for the 7th time. Yeon will serve as the executive producer and co-writer of the live-action series Human Vapor, a reboot of the 1960 Japanese film The Human Vapor. The release date of the series has not been announced yet. It looks increasingly likely that 2024 will set a new record as the warmest year. According to the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, last month ranked as the second hottest month and the second hottest July since records began in 1940. The global average temperature in July was 16.91 degrees Celsius, just 0.04 degrees below July 2023, which still holds the record for the hottest month and the hottest July. From January to July this year, global temperatures were 0.7 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 average. The Weather Monitor says unless there is a significant drop in temperatures for the rest of the year, 2024 will likely surpass 2023 as the hottest year on record. So here in the studio, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this year's weather? Do you also feel like this summer is a record-breaking time?
Well, I'm so glad you asked because I can't wait to complain about this.
I think we all are.
Yeah, it's been 8 years that I've been in Korea, and every single year I swear I think the same thing, which is, oh my gosh, this has to be the hottest
year.
Summer. It has to be the hottest one. And I always thought it's because, oh, I'm just a baby when it comes to the heat. I really prefer the cold. But no, the numbers do not lie. Right. Apparently, we are breaking records every year with the heat. And the thing about heat in Korea is that it's muggy. It's humid. So it's like the rainy season right now, which means it's raining off and on. And basically, whenever you go outside, whether it's raining or not, it feels like it's wet. You're just
sticky.
Yes, you're walking into it feels like a sauna. So it's pretty unpleasant. And during the summer, let me tell you, I have my air conditioner turned on all the time.
24/7.
So my bills are much higher in the summer. In the winter, I'm so happy. I never even touch my heat. So it's actually much cheaper for me in the winter than it is in the summer. I definitely cannot wait for it to cool down a little bit. But yes, absolutely, I can feel that it is a record-breaking year.
Well, unfortunately, Brooke, it will take some time for the weather to cool down, actually, because Korea's weather agency predicts that the intense heat will persist even after Korea's Independence Day on August 15th. Now, this is quite different from previous years because typically the weather tends to cool down after this date. So, Walter, you and I talked about like ways to prevent heat-related illnesses because we're seeing more people struggling with these illnesses. We've seen deaths as well. Now, I want to ask you, how are you planning to cope with this extended heat wave?
So, Yu-jin, I plan to never go outside unless I have to go to work.
I kind of expected like a creative answer, but
that's as creative as it's going to get for me. Like, I'm planning to stay inside for the rest of the summer, basically. I mean, going out for work is the only time because I need to get paid for work to pay my expensive air conditioning bills.
Right,
like
exactly,
Brooke, right?
exactly.
This weather has been ridiculous in my opinion, and I want to go outside. I have a young daughter who's stuck inside, and she, you know, she only has a little space to play in, and I really want to take her out to all the playground areas, but it's dangerous having a baby out in the playground area at this heat. I mean, just walking from her daycare center to my house, we're both sweating profusely. So I can't wait for this weather to be over, but my plans are stay inside or at least be under, you know, some sort of water fountain.
And are you planning to drink a lot of water?
Yeah, make sure you drink a lot of water.
Right.
Coming from Walter.
Right, coming from Walter, who is drinking a lot of water,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Right, so hope we all get to survive this extreme summer heat together, and that was our news feed for this Friday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today we're going to explore a new trend among the younger generation in the job market. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
A recent report by CNN highlighted how a growing number of young Chinese workers are shifting from office jobs, known as white-collar work, to blue-collar jobs. The workers mentioned in the story used to work for some of the biggest companies in China, but quit what are often seen as stable, high-paying careers for what they call less stressful and flexible jobs, such as house cleaning. This trend isn't limited to China. More young people in Korea are also making this career move.
Right, so this growing interest in blue-collar jobs here in Korea especially is noticeable because it wasn't traditionally the first ideal career choice for a lot of young people here in Korea, right, Walter?
Yeah, so in countries like Korea, it was common to go straight into white-collar jobs after you graduate from university. Korea has a university enrollment rate of over 70%, the highest among OECD countries. Now, in the past, there was this sense of superiority when it came to having a white-collar job, and there was also this sense of inferiority when it comes to having a blue-collar job as well. So not only was it looked down on, but the pay was not great for blue-collar jobs. And to be honest with you, it's still not that fantastic, but it's getting better and better. But Korea labeled blue-collar jobs in a bad way. They called it the 3Ds, dirty, dangerous, and also difficult, which, yes, they are all three of those things, but it doesn't mean that you should be looking down on them. But thankfully, Korean society has started to change its stance on blue-collar jobs. If we take a look at the screen, I'll just show you that we can see that more than 70% of job seekers said that they were willing or even considering taking on a blue-collar job, and with 29.7% still looking for that white-collar job, but it's great to see a massive shift in perception when it comes to these blue-collar jobs.
Right, so we're definitely seeing a change in how a lot of people in Korea are viewing blue-collar jobs. Now, Walter, you mentioned how there was this long-held perception of manual labor in Korea, how it was kind of looked down upon when compared to office jobs or white-collar jobs. Now, I want to ask you, is this previous long-held perception in Korea common in other parts of the world, for example, in the United States, Brooke?
Well, growing up in America, in my household, it was always understood that all of us kids had to go to college and we had to get a college degree. Education was very, very important in my family. Both my parents are doctors, and my dad always had this joke that he would say to me. He would say, "Brooke, I'm very open-minded about your career choice. You can be any kind of doctor you want." Of course, I ended up in showbiz, so sorry, Dad, but a lot of families had the same belief that your kids had to get a degree in order to be successful.
I think it's also the same in Korea.
Yes, very similar, but that belief is changing. In fact, according to the Pew Research Center, just 1 in 4 American adults now believe that it is extremely or very important to get a college degree in order to get a well-paying job. And in fact, instead, a lot of young people are deciding not to go to college and to learn a trade instead, or go into what we call blue-collar work. Of course, we're wearing blue collars today. We are dedicated to the topic. But one of the biggest appeals of this blue-collar work is that you get to avoid student debt. So as we all know, student debt in America is a huge problem. A lot of students will come out of college with $150,000 of debt or more, and that could take your entire life to pay off. So a lot of young people are thinking, well, why would I do that when I can just hit the ground running and immediately go into the workforce? So I definitely see why it's appealing, not just in the United States, but apparently in Korea as well.
Right, so this is the case in the United States. Now, how is it in Australia, Walter?
Well, so in terms of Australia, Australians are, or basically have been for quite some time, the opposite view of Korea in regard to blue-collar jobs. Like, in fact, they have arguably been favoured over going to university when Australia actually has less than 50% of university enrollments, so which is quite low, which but that's not a bad thing. Blue-collar jobs pay very, very well in Australia, and as you progress through your career in a blue-collar job, you get pay rises on top of that, and it's almost a given that you get all these other extra benefits as well. Now, before coming to Korea, I had done many blue-collar jobs. I worked in mechanics, I worked for electricians, I worked in construction, and might I say that I have never made that much amount of money since I've left those jobs.
Wow.
Yes.
So the situation is a bit different in Australia when compared to Korea.
Yes, very different.
I see. Now, to bring our discussion back to Korea and how more young people are now seeming to favor blue-collar jobs than before, why do you think are some of the reasons behind this shift in career preference?
Well, I mentioned earlier you can avoid debt, which is more of an issue in the United States because our college tuition is so high, but you can also avoid that stuffy office life, right? And that's one of the biggest issues here in Korea. A lot of the young people are trying to avoid just going into that 9-to-5 office situation, and a lot of them have trouble out of school finding a job, and then when they do, they're just not very satisfied with the working conditions. So instead, they've decided to turn towards more technical jobs and trades. So if you go on YouTube, you can find a lot of young people that are learning trades like painting, welding, construction, demolition. And like Walter said, they're making pretty good money. In fact, here you can make from 5 to 10 million won per month, which is far more than a lot of entry-level office jobs. So you might be wondering, well, don't they have to pay for some kind of expensive training in order to do these trades? Not in Korea. Korea offers these free vocational programs for unemployed individuals that are looking for work. It is entirely paid for by the government, so you can learn your trade and then immediately start working. That means that you avoid any debt and you can start building up your savings. Not only that, but this job is also found to be more secure in that it's not going to be replaced by robots anytime soon. So according to the Skills Outlook report released by Pearson Group, unlike white-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs are much safer when it comes to AI technology and being replaced. In fact, 30% of certain white-collar jobs like accountants or administrative secretaries can be handled by AI, but just 1% of a plumber's workload can be handled by AI. So you're looking at much more job security, you don't have any debt, and you can start investing in your financial future right away. So it's no wonder that young people are saying, you know what, this sounds pretty good, pretty appealing.
Right, and some young people, for some young people, office jobs or the office culture might not really suit them the best. So blue-collar jobs could fit their interests much better. Now, what could be some of the other reasons, Walter?
I love the points that you guys make up, and not only the fact that it's not white-collar jobs aren't for everybody. And as you said, when it comes to AI, it's a great thing to see that only 1% will take up some blue-collar jobs. But in place of a lot of people are saying that this is a place where you earn as much as you sweat, which is a good thing. So you feel like you really earned that money. There's, like Brooke mentioned, there's no sense of monotony going to the same job over and over again. If you go into work, take the subway,
sit in front of your computer,
sit in front of the computer all day, but which I do. But many are satisfied with earning for what they work for, and among like other advantages as well. Now, experts also believe that the distinct differences in job perspectives and life values between the MZ generation and also the older generation has significantly changed, and that's made a massive impact. Now, rather than promotions and career advancements, there is a greater preference for salary and obviously the big one, work-life balance. Exactly. So there is growing desire for an environment where they can, complete their work and instead of doing that overtime, go straight home to their families or do whatever they want. That's the reason why blue-collar jobs, I think, are growing here in Korea.
Right. So we looked into some of the reasons and the factors why more young people here in Korea are wanting blue-collar jobs. Now, to expand our discussion, we also asked our viewers what they think about blue-collar work and what kinds of blue-collar jobs are popular among the younger generation in their country. And here's what 3 of them said. So if we look at the comments, Itigraph says, in the U.S., I've been seeing a lot of young adults decide to work in warehouses or assembly lines while they work on learning a trade like plumbing, welding, or HVAC. The most popular choices are plumber, electrician, HVAC repair technician, auto mechanic, welding, and various construction positions. Leonteo93 says, says blue-collar jobs have not been a first choice for millennials and Gen Z in Singapore. However, recent shifts in society's attitudes and economic conditions are influencing their perspectives. For potential blue-collar jobs preferred by millennials and Gen Z, jobs that blend traditional blue-collar work with technology might be appealing. Sunny J99 says getting a white-collar job has been a popular path from the past, but now I can see some young people choosing to have blue-collar jobs due to many factors, such as the development of AI. Field laborers like carpenters are preferred. So we took a look at some of the comments made by our viewers. Now, to find out more on whether blue-collar jobs are also trending in other parts of the world besides the countries that we've seen in our comments and our discussion, we're now going to invite a Gen Zer to our talks right after this break. Right, so for our live interview today, if you're a regular viewer of Newsden, you might recognize him. We're joined by Fabio Gonzalez, a Spanish Gen Z living in Korea. Welcome, Fabio.
Hello, nice to be here again.
Hi, nice to see you again and to speak to you today as well. So our first question for you, Fabio, is are you actually seeing more young people around you choosing blue-collar jobs these days? And if you are, what kind of jobs are they choosing and why?
Well, not necessarily, but I think it's because it's not generalized the work behavior of an entire generation worldwide. But I would say that it's not the blue-collar jobs are necessarily becoming more popular or better socially perceived around the young people that I know, but it's rather that the demand around them has skyrocketed. And I feel like it's because during COVID, white-collar jobs took center stage as most activities basically moved online. But now that things have somewhat returned to normal, there's a growing need for blue-collar workers. And with high demand and low supply, I feel like employers might have likely offered better wages and conditions, and this might have made these jobs more appealing to our generation. And I also feel like our generation doesn't necessarily romanticize office jobs anymore, which might be one of the reasons why a lot of people are choosing these blue-collar jobs. You could even say that popular social media apps like TikTok or even YouTube have also given blue workers a platform to share their craft, and people are more open-minded about different jobs.
So do you think this trend reflects a shift in what younger generations value in a job or career compared to, let's say, previous generations?
Well, I'm not sure if young Koreans might feel the same way, but I feel like people my age are more open to leaving their jobs for higher paying opportunities. And many believe that it's better to just switch their companies to boost their income rather than staying in the same position for a lot of years. And at the same time, I think our generation has also been shaped by a more individualistic mindset. And we have also been growing up looking up to successful entrepreneurs, which has also inspired many to just start their own business and profit directly from their own ideas. And I feel like this might be the biggest change in mentality in our generation.
Hi, Fabio. Great to see you again. I have one more question for you. So beyond China and Korea, which we mentioned earlier in our discussion, do you see this trend happening in other parts of the world as well, perhaps including the country that you're from?
Well, I feel like this exact situation is probably happening in a lot of countries. But I feel like in my environment, both here in Korea and in Spain, it has been hard to find people who are currently working full-time as blue-collar jobs, these blue-collar jobs, because most of the people that I know are probably college or graduate school students, and they basically took these blue-collar works for short periods of time or just as a part-time job during their studies. And as I mentioned earlier, the increase in young people taking these jobs is more likely due to a better condition that comes with higher demand. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the social perception of these jobs has completely shifted. And many young people are still focused on landing these high-paying, stable jobs or jobs that have this very high social recognition or even starting their own business, which are things that might be a little bit harder to achieve with a blue-collar job. But I feel like it's also good that a lot of young people are considering taking these necessary jobs, and I hope that the conditions for blue-collar jobs under social recognition keeps improving.
All right, thank you, Fabio, so much for your time today, and can't wait to talk to you in the studio soon.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Right, so here in Korea, finally, there is a saying that goes, no job is superior or inferior, and the trend of more young people preferring blue-collar jobs, which we've talked about today, seems to reflect how our society is changing in this direction even more. So wrapping up our episode for today, how do you think that the blue-collar job market in Korea will evolve? Do you think that we'll get to see more young people continuously joining the blue-collar workforce?
Oh, yes, I do. And like you said, no job is superior or inferior, and it should never be that way. Unfortunately, Korea did create the stigma on it at one point in society, and it was really looked down upon. But I'm so glad to see. The most important thing is I'm glad to see that society is changing its views on blue-collar jobs and realizing that there is demand for it. And like Fabio mentioned, there's also areas where it's high-paying, better pay. Like some are even doing it as part-time jobs as well. So I really think it's a great movement towards going to a blue-collar job. And who knows, that's where I might be in the next couple of years.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yes. I'll be too old for this program in a couple of years.
Now, what are your thoughts on this, Brooke?
Well, I used to teach English at a high school here about 8 years ago. So gosh, almost 10 years now, almost a decade has passed. And back then, I could not imagine having this conversation because all of my students were so obsessed with getting into a good college. They were stressed out every day over Suneung, which is the equivalent of the SATs, except a much bigger deciding factor when it comes to getting into a good college here. But these days, I think things are shifting. I think it's not all about just getting into a good school. I think what we're learning and what Korea has started to accept is that there is not just one path towards success. Everyone has their own journey, and we should respect that journey.
Right, because every job and every work should be respected. And that's all from us today, but Newsgen will be back next Monday at 9:30 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Brooke Prince.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching, and hope you have a lovely weekend. We are New Generation.
There is no greater blessing than to have good health.